Hamilton T1 Preventive Maintenance and Configuration. This video tutorial is not intended to replace the information in the Hamilton T1 Service Manual. Calibration, testing and troubleshooting must be performed according to the instructions in the Service Manual. This video is intended for certified service engineers only. The following parts are required for preventive maintenance: a battery charger and calibrator kit, a Hamilton T1 lithium-ion battery, a blower module, an HPO filter service kit, a fan filter, a dust filter for the HEPA filter, a HEPA filter, a galvanic oxygen cell, and a USB flash drive. Carry out a visual inspection of the ventilator unit. Inspect the ventilator unit and the power cord for damage or dirt. Make sure that all screws accessible from the outside, for example on the rear cover, filter cover, battery cap and option board, are tight. Check that all marks, symbols and labels related to safety are complete and legible. Replace the dust filter and the fan filter. Open the filter cover. Replace the HEPA filter. Unplug the connector from the oxygen cell, then unscrew the oxygen cell and replace it with a new one. Remove the high-pressure oxygen adapter. To make removal of the oxygen adapter easier, use the oxygen hose to engage the adapter and then remove it. Remove the filter holder plate. Replace the HPO inlet filter and the two O-rings. If necessary, replace the screws as well. Assemble the HPO filter, then install the oxygen adapter on the ventilator unit. Turn on the ventilator unit by pressing the power button. Then press the O2 enrichment and manual breath keys at the same time until the two corresponding green LEDs light up. The bar indicates the progress of the startup self-test procedure. The startup status of the ventilator service software is shown in the bottom right corner of the display. In the main service software screen, touch Ventilator Info, Technical State, and then Battery Data. Consider replacing the batteries when the state of health shows a value between 20 and 40%. The batteries must be replaced once the state of health is less than 20%. Here, the two batteries show a state of health just below 40%. We recommend that you replace the batteries now before the state of health reaches 20% prior to the next preventive maintenance. Turn off the ventilator unit. Open the front cover and remove the two old batteries and replace them. Start up the ventilator in service software mode and confirm the battery's state of health. In the main service software screen, touch Ventilator Info, then RTC. Confirm the real-time clock and adjust if necessary. At the same time, verify that the ventilator unit's internal RTC battery status shows battery OK, highlighted in green. In the main service software screen, touch Ventilator Info, Service Timer, and then Blower Timer. In this example, the blower is new. Replace the blower when the blower timer reaches 100% or is expected to reach 100% in 6 months' time. Touch Log Config Files to access the log and configuration files. Touch Export to enter the export section and make sure you have inserted a USB flash drive into the USB socket. Touch the Instrument Report button and then the Start button to export the Instrument Report text file, which can be opened with a text editor program. This document gives you a detailed overview of the parts and software installed, as well as the calibration values of the ventilator unit. Export and archive this document each time you carry out preventive maintenance. Go back to Events and also export the log files if needed. Touch Service Log to view service-related logs on the screen. They are displayed in chronological order. Use the P&T knob to scroll through the service log. Touch Event Log to view the application-related event logs on the screen. Watch out for red highlighted alarms and technical failures. Start up the ventilator unit in application mode. Before performing a software update, you need to know about the tools and configuration. Some software updates will reset the ventilator to the default configuration, where you will need to restore the configuration settings either manually or with the help of a configuration file. For more information about the configuration settings, please read the Hamilton T1 Operator's Manual. Touch Tools. Here, you can set the gas source to either high-pressure oxygen or low-pressure oxygen. A high-pressure oxygen supply is connected to this ventilator unit. Make sure that no LPO connector is attached when the ventilator is configured to HPO, as this will cause a technical failure alarm. Touch Configuration. Enter the configuration code 7132, followed by Enter and Configuration. On the left, you can select the available configuration settings. Select the desired language for this ventilator unit. Touch Unit to select the appropriate unit of measurements for pressure, CO2 and length. Touch More to set the desired RS-232 protocol to communicate over the COM1 port if installed as an option. Adjust the minimum loudness setting for the ventilator unit if needed. Once set, the operator of the ventilator unit cannot adjust the alarm volume to lower than the minimum loudness setting. If the alarm volume was set to less than 5 before the ventilator was turned off, it will be reset to 5 when the ventilator is turned back on. However, if the minimum loudness value is set to a value greater than 5, this will override the minimum value. Touch General to choose which mandatory timing philosophy and naming convention to use for the volume-controlled pressure adaptive modes. Touch Graphics to define a default set of main monitoring parameters that will be displayed in that position on the screen. Repeat for the remaining parameters. Touch Sensors to choose the SpO2 sensor type from either Massimo or Nihon Kohden. Touch Setups to configure individual setup settings. In standby mode, configure the ventilator unit with the parameters you will save as a quick setup. Select the patient group, then the gender and height for adult and pediatric patients, or the weight for neonates, the ventilation mode, the mode control settings, and the alarm limits. Also see the operator's manual for more details. Touch Transfer to export the configuration settings. Insert a USB flash drive into the USB port. Touch Export to export the configuration file, or Import to import a configuration file. The Configuration Import feature allows for convenient transfer of the configurations from one ventilator unit to another if the same configuration needs to be installed on several ventilators. The exported XML configuration files will be stored in a folder called Import-Export Config Files on the USB flash drive. Touch Options to review the installed options. If you need to add options, touch Add Options and type the activation code exactly as provided in the field. Then touch Enter. Please note that the activation codes are only valid for a specific ventilator unit depending on its serial number. Touch Hardware Options to activate or deactivate hardware options. Since we have a CO2 and an SpO2 option board installed in this ventilator unit, we can activate both options. Touch Tools, insert a USB flash drive, and touch Export Logs to export the log files from the application mode. This is a useful workaround that allows a user to export the log files without needing to go into the service software mode. Touch Events to view application-related event logs on the screen. The events are displayed in chronological order. Use the P&T knob to scroll through the events. Touch System, then Info to view device-specific information including the serial number, model, operating hours, hours since startup, time to service, battery capacity, oxygen consumption, software version, and installed options. Touch Tests and Calibration to perform the pre-operational calibrations and tightness test. See the service software video tutorial where we show you how to perform pre-operational tests. Touch Sensors to activate hardware options. Note that in order to activate the sensors, the hardware must be installed on the ventilator unit. Activate the hardware options under Tools, Configuration, Options, and then Hardware Options. Set the desired loudness level. Please note that the alarm volume cannot be set lower than the minimum specified for the ventilator unit in configuration. Touch Day and Night to adjust the brightness for the day and night settings. To make the ventilator unit control the brightness based on ambient light, touch the Automatic button. Touch Date and Time to change the date and time if needed. Download the latest software from the PartnerNet on the Hamilton Medical website. Start up the ventilator unit in service software mode. Insert the USB flash drive into the USB port. Touch Software Update and then Software Update again. Choose the appropriate software version tar file to install and touch Start. Touch Ventilation Info, then Technical State. Here we can see the device part, revision and serial numbers, as well as each part. SW version shows the specific details of the installed software version. If you replace one of the following parts, go to the Modify tab to manually update the part, revision and serial numbers. This applies to the device if you replace the control board, the blower module, expiratory valve, mixer assembly, power supply, and the check valve assembly. For other parts, the part, revision and serial numbers are updated automatically. If you replaced the blower module, for example, select Blower Module, then Serial Number, and type in the new serial number. Here, we are changing the serial number from 495182031 to 492550009. Confirm the setting by touching the Confirm button. Go back to Hardware version to verify the new blower module serial number. Transfer gives you the possibility to export the technical state file onto a USB flash drive. This file has a CSV file extension. It includes all serial numbers of the parts that are listed in the Modify tab. It is useful to have it in case the control board needs to be replaced. With the help of this file, it is possible to import all the part-specific numbers automatically once you have entered the device's serial number. After performing the preventive maintenance, you must also reset the service timer. Go to Technical State, then Service Timer. Change the service timer to 5,000 hours or the number of hours defined by the hospital to elapse before performing the next service. Then touch the Reset button. The ventilator will trigger a service required alarm after 5,000 operating hours.